Mike, turn your games down.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 250 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's spinning a ring with me tonight?
That's me, Dominic Cichocki, once again. Hello, hi, I'm here.
Welcome.
Ian here, occasionally write for thepixels.com and resident Shadow Hearts superfan on Twitter.
I should have plugged my stuff, I apologize. But,
Okay.
I'm Kyle Gorman, first time on the show. I do the RPG Show podcast on rpgshow.com. Joined that about a year ago, and big JRPG fan, so glad to join on this one.
I did not know that. I should have asked you that beforehand. You're a podcaster. And there will be a link to your show in the show notes.
All right, if you like 4-hour podcasts on RPGs, join up.
Oh, we've done that.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts.
Good one.
So that does happen. You have to send me a link, because when I type in RPG show, I just get wigs, and I don't think that's what you're...
Yeah, I'll find one and send it in the chat quick.
Or I can't type. No, I can't type. Apparently, instead of RPG, I typed in RPH, and then I ended up with frickin' wigs, and I'm like, wait, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
So there will be a link to his podcast. And Dominic, where can people find you at?
Oh, yes, the Distant Ways podcast on YouTube. It's a big music podcast, not big, but my friends and I do it, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm also on the Overboard Facebook group. I'm on Twitter at DACICHOCKI, all that fun stuff.
And we keep calling it Twitter. We keep calling it by the wrong name. Oh. Fuck you, Max. Oh,
There are very few things I will dead name. Twitter is one of them.
Same. I try never to do that to anything, but Twitter deserves it. So, funny joke for Twitter since before we got the episode. I have noticed, a lot of times I publish in different social medias like Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook. If I type it out, I can type the same exact thing. If I type it in Facebook, I copy and paste it and put it in Twitter, it will not post to Twitter sometimes. He must have something in there where if he catches you copy and pasting it, he won't post, it won't let it go through.
Who knows? And
that wasn't a thing before, because I did this for years before he bought the stupid frickin' Twitter. No issues, and all of a sudden I started having issues. So, I know where that came from. So it's just one of the little things I've noticed, I have to literally type it in Twitter first, copy and paste it, and then put it in other places, otherwise it won't go, otherwise he'll reject it. It's it always upsets me so much after he bought it. It was the worst thing.
Yeah, I've nothing to add about that topic.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to. That's not even the topic we're here for. I had to get out my little rant. So we are here to talk about Shadow Hearts, the first game that came out in PS2, developed by Sacknoth, published by Midway Games in North America, which I can't get over how or actually worldwide besides Japan. That's one of the things I remember about this game. And this came out in 2001, which is a sequel, sort of, to another game I've never played, Kodeka.
But you need to play.
I'm going to. I think I'm going to for sure now.
Which, was released only a year and a half before this. Mm-hmm. So this came pretty quickly. This was the full sequel, just a new name and new everything.
Yeah. This is the first game I ever saw the series. I randomly came across this at EB Games, I think, when I used to go, because this must have been my first job, 2003 probably. And I remember just randomly finding this on the shelf, said, oh, this looks cool. It's an RPG. And I just grabbed and I picked it up because it was I think I paid it probably under $20 knowing me.
It's a really good deal.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't cheap now, I can tell you that much. So I have the whole series, all 3 Shadow Hearts. I haven't played them in years, but I have all 3. I did not play this legit, I can tell you that right now, but I played this on the Steam Deck.
Oh, sweet. How did it run on Steam Deck?
Perfectly. Well, okay, not perfectly. I take that back. For the most part, perfectly. Every so often during the Judgment Ring, it would stall for point some seconds, and that could screw me up. But at the same time, I got...
Oh, that's terrible.
Just an extra modifier to make it harder.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't happen a lot, and even when it did happen, my brain was able to comprehend and get it, usually without issue. So it was because the thing didn't stop. It just would flicker for a second or a point some seconds.
Oh, that sounds so frustrating. I mean, the last time I played it through, I played it on a back-compatible PlayStation 3 and found many issues trying to play it on that. One of the main issues was the lottery minigame just did not work. So
weird.
It just absolutely just would not work. Just hang the game and you'd have to restart the whole thing, which is annoying because to complete it with all of the summons, you need a tissue at one point later on, which is the booby prize from the lottery minigame. But I was very lucky to get it as a random drop from a late game enemy, so I could actually finish it. But if it was just the booby prize from the lottery game, I wouldn't have been able to complete the game on PS3.
Wow. Okay.
I knew the tissue was going to be important somewhere.
I never used the tissue.
Yeah, you give it to one guy later on, I think in France or Prague, and it helps one of the summons level up at some point. But without
have
the tissue,
to do it,
you
though.
can't actually do that. You can't get to the super secret bosses, which is bizarre, really.
I didn't do that either. So I like to start out a lot of these shows after I get them my rants on Twitter of memories. So as I said, I played this when it first came out. Haven't touched it since then. Dominic, what is your history with this game?
I remember when From the New World was coming out. I just remember that being like in like Game Informer and seeing reviews for that and being like, oh, cool, this RPG series. Oh, they're rated M. Oh man, and being like a teenager at that time, that immediately appealed to me. So I always had Shadow Hearts on the mind since then. I think I played From the New World for like 5 minutes at one point. So I'm like, I want to go back and revisit all these.
Well, once I finish Kingdom Hearts, I'll be more willing to try other series on this podcast. So, fucking Kingdom Hearts. Okay, and Ian, what about you?
I played Kudelka on the PlayStation 1, absolutely adored it. And when I bought Shadow Hearts, I had no idea that the two games were related until about 70% of the way through Shadow Hearts, where the character of Kudelka appears, and suddenly I'm leaping out of my chair, dropping my controller, shout, "This is Kudelka too! I don't believe it!"
So she didn't have a kid in Kudelka?
No.
Amazing.
No, Kudelka's also pretty short, I think, too.
Yeah, it's not the longest game in the world. It's 4 discs on the PS1, but a lot of it is FMV cutscenes.
What's the time difference between the two games? Couple of years?
A year and a half, something like that?
Yeah. In-game, I think you can safely say it's about 11 years later, roughly.
That's
However old Haley is.
However old Hallie is, yeah.
Yeah, because it's 1898 is Kudelka, and this takes place, I think it's 1911?
1913.
Okay, it's right before World War
14.
Yeah.
Which I should know this as a World War One I'm a World War II buff.
Well, they have that 6-month gap, too. So.
Yeah, good point. And Kyle, what is your history with this game?
Playing it this time right now. That's pretty much my history with it. So when it came out, I was more Final Fantasy X, I think, was coming out around the same time. So I went that route instead. But I really do like these kind of games, like Judgment Ring kind of stuff. So Legend of Dragoon, I grew up with Super Mario RPG, all the timed hits kind of stuff. So I think, I probably gave it a look at GameStop way back in the day, but picked something else instead.
I don't blame you one bit. I think probably the only reason I even picked this up is back then in high school, I was trying to do a thing where I was trying to beat 100 RPGs before my friend did.
Oh,
so it never happened.
How did that go? Yeah,
we didn't finish because I ended up way far ahead of him, and then he got pissed, and that was the end of that. But I would buy just RPGs. That's all I would play because I was I enjoyed it, and 2, I was trying to beat 100. I got to 50 something back then that we were keeping track of. But then we also got another friend involved, and he's like, "Well, anything can be an RPG," and that wasn't what we were trying to go by. So then it just kind of fell apart. I mean, by now I might have done it by now. I don't play as many as I used to because of the podcast.
I mean,
like a game like this took me 30 hours.
A ton of them by now. You probably played a ton on this show.
I played a few. I'm working them in. I find ways, and especially with the Steam Deck, where I played this game at an airport on an airplane. I got about 6 hours in just from flying while I was traveling, so that was great. That's what I love about the Steam Deck. Like, play a PS2 game mobile. I mean, that is just so awesome to me. I didn't have save states, though. That did bug me, because with the Steam Deck, I can't figure out how to do save states on the Steam Deck for PS2. But that's fine. I didn't need it for this game. So for those that don't know, Shadow Hearts is a RPG that's set in the modern day world, but the modern day world has demons and monsters. Well, modern day as in 1911.
Very Lovecraftian.
Oh, yes.
And I think that was also something that really grabbed me because I'm not used to a lot of RPGs that take place in that. I mean, most are fantasy. I mean, I know there are more of them. Like there's the Trails series, which is more modern era. I mean, I know not America, but more modern. Where this is this was just so brand new to me at the time, where I'm coming from Final Fantasies and Saga Frontiers and stuff like that. Xenogears, Squaresoft. I wasn't expecting this, and I think that's what blew me away too. Is that this was a game that was set in modern, not modern day, but in America, in Europe, in our world, and I think that really just was crazy to me.
Oh, definitely. That's something that drew me to it, knowing that, especially when I first played Kudelka, knowing that it was set in Wales, which, only a couple of hours drive from where I am. Like, oh, it's close to home. I like this. And then, of course, Shadow Hearts being that journey all the way from East Asia all the way to the UK and Wales again, where it finishes. I just love that.
How accurate do you think it is?
In terms of geography, pretty accurate. In terms of alternate history, no.
Does it get the vibe of things at least?
I would say so. I think some of the places, although dark, and of course there is a village full of cannibals, which I'm not sure if there is around there, but who knows? One of the things that always resonated with me, and it was a quote from the second game from Covenant, where someone said, "You don't want to go to Wales, it's full of monsters and weirdos." And I'm sat here thinking, not quite, but okay.
There.
That's funny though.
No, I do love the map of it and everything, and particularly the fact that it's a journey, and that's something that I've always liked in RPGs.
Same. I love the fact that it's like you're traveling across the world. Like this starts off. You're in China, right? Yeah. Beginning is all China.
Yeah.
Because you just wake up as your character who's on a train.
The
for some
rude
reason.
hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God, this game was very 2001 at first, but like you're just some random guy. You don't even get a name. You're just like Dominic said, rude hero, and then you just end up rescuing a girl from a weird guy in a top hat named Roger Bacon
on a train.
Which is the greatest name ever.
It really is.
It's so fucking weird to me. I'm just like, what the fuck? I remember thinking that when I first played this. I'm like, what am I playing?
I just remember first hearing the name Roger Bacon and thinking that's a euphemism for something, but I'm way too naive to figure out what.
Well, it's one of those things where that like Roger Bacon was a real person at one time. So It's just like, yeah, he just lived forever.
And are we talking spoilers, by the way?
Oh yeah. Will there be spoilers for this game that came out 2001? So you've been warned. There you go.
That's all right, as long as we can mention that he's not actually Roger Bacon.
Yeah. And you must have known that right away because you played Kudelka, which Roger Bacon's in Kudelka, I saw.
Exactly, yeah. I thought at first that they were kind of taking liberties, and like I say, at the time, I didn't even realize the two games were related. I just thought, oh, that's coincidental.
These Japanese people really love Roger Bacon for some reason.
Yeah. There's definitely a euphemism there, and I'm not going there.
It's just so weird that was his name. I mean, I just remember always thinking that, like, why would you call your villain, like, last name Bacon? I was just, because, I mean, like, early, I mean, you can tell that's going to be the villain. He tries to capture the girl, you hit him in the face, they have weird music playing, but, like, the thing that makes this game really stand apart is it has the whole judgment ring system, which in the battle system, you have a ring that shows up for everything you do, all your attacks, all your items, all your spells, and it's a little bit different depending on what you're doing. You have to time X right and to make things happen. And if you are more willing to gamble, you can then do more damage if you wait to the last second to hit the button, which I
absolutely adore the judgment ring system. I think it's just so unique to this, but in the same way, it just harkens back to kind of, D&D. Every single decision you make on a dice roll, whether it succeeds or fails, it's just a alternate version of that. But I do love the risk and reward of going for that last little part of the cheese wedge and being able to put those modifiers on to make that little section a little bit wider if you are missing every time. I love it.
I do too.
It's very cool.
I do commonly like it in games, but I played this on my PC through Steam as well, through a controller, so maybe I was maybe my hardware isn't up to date, but I had a tougher time than I thought with some of the Judgment Ring stuff, honestly. Like, I would save state some of the boss fights just to make sure I could get full damage.
No, it's not easy. Like, this is not that easy of an RPG. And, I mean, with us both playing emulation, I think we both probably had a little bit of, like, there's a little bit of, like, it's not as good as it would be if you're playing it on legit hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that played a part in it, too, for both of us.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I played this on...
is that legitimate?
I played this on PS2. I really did not find it to be that difficult of a game.
But you probably didn't have any, like, slow down during the Judgment Ring.
No, I didn't.
I did.
Like, I don't mean to sound facetious or like, oh, this is like, oh, I'm fucking great at games or whatever, but like, this was like a really perfectly, like, I don't know, like metered difficulty where like I could die, I could have a little bit of difficulty with like boss battles, but nothing was ever so insurmountable that I'm like, fuck this.
Oh yeah,
Like, I am so burdened.
That's a good point.
Totally agree. There's no part at any point during Shadow Hearts, to my opinion anyway, where the difficulty just ramps up so completely out of nowhere. I'm obviously thinking of a lot of RPGs where there's always the one boss that everyone says, "Oh, level up before you get to that guy." But there isn't a single one in Shadow Hearts to my recollection.
No, I was also fully leveled just because, well, it's me. I started grinding in this game a lot. And it was just because I just felt that I needed to. I just really wanted to grind, so that's just what I did for a while.
Yeah, it maybe
Just, well,
helps
the
one or
combat's fun.
two of the bosses when you get the right summon. Like Lily, if you have the holy summon right away, is a bit easier, but it's still doable without.
Oh, I have a dum-dum moment that I have to share now that you brought that up. So, the summons. Well, in this game, you have summons you can get as you do more battles. You earn different elements, and then eventually you're able to go into like this graveyard area and save points. It's in the menu, and you go and you fight bosses, or you can fight your bosses that end up becoming more summoned. For some reason, I did not understand this concept, and I never did it. I didn't do it to the end of the game. I
you
used the
do what?
same summon until near the end of the game.
Oh,
Which one?
God.
The Dark Emperor thing.
Oh, yeah.
I just used that because I did not know how to do it. I'm like, man, I should get more summons by now. So, yeah.
Yeah, see that idea of going to the graveyard in your mind and upgrading things there, I love that as well. I thought that was nice and just a really refreshing, dark take on, a character's psyche at the time and getting to upgrade through that. I think it's just so beautifully Halloween in a way.
It is.
Despite the fact the game came out in the summer, I think.
Yeah, but that's why we're covering it now in spooky season. Because 250 fell on during my Spooktober event, so I'm like, well, I guess it's going to be a spooky episode.
A spooky RPG.
Yeah, which unfortunately 300 is supposed to be Xenogears, but 300 does not fall. It falls in spooky time, so Xenogears will be before that, and I've changed it for something else, 300. But in a year, you'll see that I'm right.
I'm very excited for Xenogears.
Same. But I for a while I thought you had to beat the fox demon when you fight him randomly, and that was how you got more summons.
God.
And I could never beat him.
that.
I tried, and I'm like, I just cannot beat this guy. What am I doing wrong? Can you beat him even?
Eventually, yes.
Okay, but you're not supposed to be able to beat him in those random fights when you first fight him.
No.
Are you?
No, you're
When you're-
supposed to go to the graveyard and purge your malice. Make sure that Foxface doesn't come out and harass you.
So did the game tell you that?
Well, you ever see
Yes,
those colors come on screen at different points after you fight enough enemies? When it gets to red, that's when Foxface comes on screen.
Okay, I remembered that part, but I couldn't remember that I was supposed to go to the graveyard and do stuff there. I remembered the graveyard from when I played this game before, but for some reason I never clicked on that menu in the menu bar.
I think it tells it to you the first time you go to the graveyard, but I think you have to... I can't remember now whether actually going to the graveyard is scripted or whether it's something that if you click on it in the menu, it happens.
The first time it's scripted.
I think it is
That's
scripted, but there
good.
is like a really deep FAQ section of the menu that explains
Mhm.
all this stuff in way more detail than the game will ever give you, just randomly.
That sounds about right.
Wait, so did you never go to the graveyard?
No.
Wow, you were playing on super hard mode.
Yeah.
I didn't go.
I
did it, but it was near the end. I want to say I met Roger Bacon first when I went, wait a second. I really should have gotten summons by now. I got Roger Bacon. I fought the mask. I beat the mask when they would randomly start showing up near the end of the game, which is how you unlock the best ending, which I did not do correctly. And I was like, I really should have more summons. And I went in the menu, clicked on Graveyard, went, oh yeah, oop. So
I thought that the Foxface guy would be every enemy you fought at that point when you
no, it's
get
just
into the red.
you fight him a lot. So I had to run from like maybe 1 out of 3 fights.
I don't think you could run from him,
Okay.
could you?
You can just run.
Wild.
He even tells you can run if you want to.
And
But it's the
probably should
wrong
have
way to play this
and
game.
You should.
Yes, you should not fight
And
him.
yet you still beat it relatively quickly.
I level a lot too, by the way.
Impressive.
Well, now I can understand why.
It didn't seem to matter as much that I had the Death Emperor for Yuri, because there were even times where I just wouldn't even use Yuri. I would just, because it's the way I play RPGs. I don't use abilities as much. Like, in this game, I would do a lot of physical attacks. I would do more abilities because I had to do spells. I didn't have a choice. The game kind of would force me to, because if I didn't, there's no way I would have gotten through stuff. But I try to use just regular attacks as much as I can in any RPG.
I do the same. And
Yeah,
just purely out of interest, what's everyone's party of choice? Because mine was, for most of the game anyway, Yuri, Alice, and Margaret.
I'm Yuri, Alice, and Keith.
Nice.
Yeah, I was Yuri, Alice, Keith, and then Hallie came along, so I did Yuri, Alice, Hallie at the end.
Yeah, Hallie's got some fantastic strong attacks.
Yeah, I'm on Ian's side here.
See,
I'm with Marguerite as well.
Yes.
Okay.
I did this interesting system of having Hallie and Alice constantly healing each other and the party throughout the final boss fight.
Yeah.
So just like an infinite chain of just like, okay, it's your turn to heal. You're getting this buff. You're getting this item. Then you're healing, and then we have one attack happening.
I think
From
That's
the
enough.
first time I played it, that was my final team, was Yuri, Alice, and Hallie. But I do like Margaret. She holds a special place in my heart. But it's a shame to miss out Master Zhushan as well, because I pointed this out to a friend of mine. When he does his 3 regular attacks, when you do the bang, bang, bang on the Judgment Ring, listen out to his shouts, because I know they're meant to be some kind of shouts of just hey, something like that, but the third one honestly sounds like he's shouting, "You're an asshole."
It does.
I didn't notice that.
I played this game mostly muted. Partly
After
because it was
hearing the
Steam
battle
Deck.
music for 2 hours, I had to mute mine too.
I play a lot of games muted at times. I'm gotten better about having sound on, but for something like this, I would just mute it a lot, just because I was playing on a Steam Deck, so I was constantly playing in different areas. And plus, I had podcasts running most of the time when I played this game. So
Yeah, I do the same now. When I'm leveling up on a game, I usually mute the sound and put one of my favourite podcasts on, like Games My Mum Found. But
there's plenty of episodes to keep you busy. So it just helps me for this. I mean, so I do want to talk. We should talk a little about the character. So you start off. The main character is Yuri, who has the ability to fusion, turn into like different demon monsters if you decide to play the game correctly and go get them. Unlike me, you also have Alice, who is who's a priest's daughter, who her father was killed. The Japanese government is after her, and she's kind of like your white mage, pretty much. Is the third character you get Zuzan, or joins you for a little bit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He's an old Chinese man, I think it was, or
He's an exorcist guy.
Yes.
And so is Alice and her father.
Oh yeah, they were exorcists too.
Everyone's an exorcist.
And
That's a band name.
He's kind of like a fire. He's fire element, I think, is the safe way to put it. He has a fire spell. That doesn't really matter.
It's called a fire adept, I think.
Okay. Alice is holy. Yuri is dark. And then you get Marguerite, which is a French spy who uses a gun. Which again, a gun in an RPG is not something I'm used to seeing at this time in 2001.
She calls in grenades.
Yeah.
Yep. She's the best.
And she's a spy who joins you. God, who is that? And then is it
Keith.
not? Keith. Okay, Keith is a vampire who you find in his castle that wears a purple suit.
Keith Valentine, the last name of every vampire in every RPG ever.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know why it's Valentine. That just seems odd to me if they went that road.
Because Vincent.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just surprised they went down the road, because 7 wasn't that long before this. Isn't 7 97?
Yeah.
Yes. But this also could be a Midway thing.
True.
I don't know if it's fully 1-to-1 Japanese or not.
Probably not. Midway is, again, it was so fucking weird to see a Midway published RPG. It's just weird to see a Midway game now. Like, oh yeah, I remember you guys used to exist. Oh yeah.
And then there's Hallie.
The orphan of Kodeka, which you don't find out till near the end of the game, and uses a slingshot to fight.
The street rat.
Yeah.
He only steals what he can't afford, and that's everything.
So like the Robin Hood of the game.
And you find him in London. I like him. I was going to use him to finish the game, but then I just ended up going with Keith is the second most powerful character for damage-wise, so I just went with him.
Yeah, I think it is supposedly, according to the lore, that Hallie is the son of Koudelka and Edward from the original PS1 game. It is mentioned in the outro, in the epilogue, the Where Are They Now bit, that at the end, Kudelka and Hallie are heading to America to try and find Hallie's father. Unfortunately, they didn't turn up from the New World, which is a real shame. Kind of a missed opportunity there, I think, to tie them all together.
That's sad they didn't do that. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't remember any of this. I mean, I played from the New World, but God, has it been years, and I don't even remember any of how they connect. I just remember Covenant is a direct sequel to this, where From the New World wasn't, and I was upset.
Yeah, I could wax lyrical for hours about how Covenant follows on and how both endings to Shadow Hearts are canon. I could go into that if you wish, but I don't want to bore you.
I have heard about it, yes.
We do, yeah, gladly. But, I mean, so one thing I think that's so interesting about this adventure is that so many different things happen to our characters, and it kind of reminds me of FF10, like we said, where it really is feel like a journey, except this is a journey where you can actually backtrack and do other things. Like, because you start off in China, and then you go through China while you're being chased by the Japanese government, which, again, makes sense that they're in China in 1913. I'm like, that is accurate. This is correct. This is leading up to World War I when they do atrocities, and this is why there's a long point of history where Chinese hate Japan. And this is why. And stuff that happens in 1913. And it was just very cool to see that. And, like, you have one of the first places you go to is a village full of cannibals. I really like that stuff. I mean, they're not cannibals, they're demons. You think they're cannibals, you find out they're demons. I just liked it. I just thought it was just so cool how they did it.
Yeah, it was nicely worked in. I love the disconnect between the two halves of the game as well, the Asia half and the Europe half. But if you miss a key item in Asia, you ain't getting it.
Because you don't go back, because for a while you also don't have free roam either. Like, you just have to go to the next area, to the next area, the next area. Which, again, fits. You're trying to escape. At one point, you take a boat. At one point, you fly a messed up plane. Like, you're just trying to escape from the military.
My favorite quote from the entire game comes from that section where you're flying the plane and it's on fire and it's going down. And Margaret says, "Now, come on. This is no time for casual discourse on somniloquy." And I'm like, just say sleep talking. Your plane's going down.
Yeah. I like Marguerite.
Oh, she's great, especially when we're talking about alternate history, because she is based on a real historical figure as well, the spy Matahari.
Oh, I did not. Okay, I know who Matahari is, by the way. She was executed. But that's cool.
This game has a little bit of that ambition of, like, the PS1, PS2 era that I've kind of talked about before with, like, Kingdom Hearts 2 and stuff. Where it's like the things that happen in Shadow Hearts would be very difficult to do in any later generation, I feel like, where you have that whole airplane scene, you have, like, the bombing of the city, you have when Shanghai gets decimated. I feel like a lot of that stuff would be so much harder if it was like an HD PS3, PS4 game to, like, commit to in that same way.
That's a really good point, yeah.
Or just to do it. I mean, they might have not done it where you blow up a whole city is destroyed. But yeah, it would have been hard.
And that's kind of the sad thing. Like the ambition of a lot of these games now is limited by, we have to do it in HD. We have to do it with these 4K graphics, and it has to be really, intricate and complex. Where here it's just like, well, we'll do our best.
And this game also uses pre-rendered backgrounds too,
which is beautiful.
I did not put two and two together until I was watching a video that explained that. I'm like, oh yeah, it works.
Yeah, I love pre-rendered backgrounds. They're all just so pretty.
I do too, for the most part.
Well, it's got the camera angles, so it makes sense.
Yeah. The game still looks good. I mean, I know one of the complaints was like, oh, this is kind of like a PS1 game. It doesn't. It's just not. This is what, early PS2, 2001?
Yeah. It's just not as developed as Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, this wasn't going to make the money that Final Fantasy X made, so they didn't need to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that this was in development for the PS1. I don't know that for certain, but I just get the feeling they were. Yeah, they pushed it onto the PS2 for, reasons. It's just unfortunate that it came out around the same time-ish as Final Fantasy X. I think, obviously, we got Shadow Hearts a year later over here, and so it was kind of in FF10's shadow for... pun not intended, for a lot of the time. And then, of course, Covenant was just a reaction to 10.
Okay. I mean, I can see that. I mean, 10 was such a big game when that came out. But I'm okay with a game not being as pretty as another game. Like, that's fine. Like, that idea that we were also very much into in PS2 as a general concept of gamers, where we need the next best thing, the next best graphics. I remember playing this, and I had no problem with this game. I thought this game was pretty enough. Like, it does a decent enough job with it.
It does, yeah.
I wholeheartedly subscribe to the idea that developers should make less intensive games for less money for more profit. And I would also buy a new PS2 game any day of the week if it looked any good.
And I think that later part is happening, by the way, because the video games are not doing good because they're spending too much fucking money.
Mm.
Like, I do not see the need to constantly have everything meet the same standard of, like, everything has to be 4K, 120 frames per second, like, enabled or whatever. Like, we need things to have a range and a variety of prices, a variety of, like, budgets, so that different experiences can be had.
Exactly, and that's why I'm hoping that Sea of Stars is selling well at the moment, because I love that game, and it's a great game. It could well play on a SNES.
Exactly,
yeah,
and
Chained Echoes too.
And like the Switch is the only place where we have anything that can be a little bit cheaper, I feel like, than the PS5 or the Series X, and like PC, of course, too. But
yeah, no, I think we are going to see a change in gaming in the next few years, just because AAA is just not working for people. So it's coming.
So I mean, have any of you guys played a game called Le Grand Legacy on the Switch or PS4 or I think PC?
I've heard of it, but no.
It's heavily inspired by Shadow Hearts, pre-rendered backgrounds, Judgment Ring combat.
Oh,
I'm hoping to see more like that.
And by the way, it's in my Steam library. I don't know how, but it's in my Steam library. Oh, cool.
I just magicked it there for you, Mike.
This is why I buy tons and tons of Fanatical bundles, because you never know what weird shit you're going to get.
Mm.
That somebody will go, I'm like, okay, you have my attention now, sir. Yeah, Le Grand Legacy, Tale of the Fatebound.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that came out in 2018. All right, let's we'll have to maybe have to look at this.
Definitely, it's one that when I play it, I'm thinking, oh, this is the game that I would make if I made a game right now.
Okay, well, you have my attention, sir. Thank you. I don't know if I'll get around to it because I'm too damn busy, but you have my attention. I'm just happy I own it. I was like, I'll wish list it. I'm like, around 62 hours to beat. Yeah, that won't be anytime soon. All right. So never mind that idea.
Kidding. That's nothing.
It is when you have to beat a game every week.
Yeah.
Oh, tough.
That's why when I do RPGs, I split them up. That's why I played this in an airport and was happy that I got like 6 hours in flying and like another couple hours in when I was on vacation. I was very happy because I started this game weeks ahead of time to be prepared to get this done. I also want to say I never got bored of the combat. I never got bored of the story. As the game progressed and as you travel, like the first half of this game is all you trying to get to Shanghai and take out this boss who I think was he the guy that killed Alice's father? Or that was
no.
No, the guy at the end of Shanghai was the sorcerer, Douai.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Albert Simon, when he's not calling himself Roger Bacon, and possibly with the assistance of Arcane Olga, who killed Father Elliot, but I could be wrong on that.
No, I think you're right.
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
But he's also trying to capture Alice because he wants to use Alice to summon some demon god to come and destroy the world too. And it feels like that could have been the whole game right there. Mm. I mean, I'm glad it isn't because there's so much more to this game, but I feel like it's a good halfway point too. Like it really is. Like, I mean, just everything leading up to it. You're trying to get to Shanghai. You get to run around this big city. You find out that your father fought this guy and died and saved the world all these years ago. And it's just a very, very cool culminating event.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that Shadow Hearts does well is a nice, neat halfway point, because Covenant obviously has that when you go from Europe to Asia at the halfway point and switch the discs. And from the New World, when you go from North America to South America, you've got that clear divide between the first act and the second act.
I don't remember any of what you're saying, by the way.
That's cool.
Yeah, honestly, the game's really well paced. I feel like the first village was a little tough time-wise because I grinded a lot there just to get up to maybe level 4 or 5, but everything else was really, it streamed very well.
I don't think you need to grind a whole lot. I mean, I did, just as I already said, but I didn't need to. It was more of just like, I don't want to continue the story, and I want to play this game while I'm doing other things, so I would just grind.
Yeah, you don't have to, but I had to get used to the rank, so it took a long time to do that.
That makes sense. It's definitely a different combat system. It's like if I ever go back and play Legend of Dragoon again, there'll be a lot of save states. So
I think
it's weird because I can still do Dragoon perfectly, but doing this was just a different realm for me on the PC.
Oh, fun fact that nobody asked for, but when I was a kid, I was in Taekwondo, or not kid, in high school when I played Legend Dragoon, and I could do the volcano thing that he did. I went and did one of those in like a contest. The guy's like, "Oh, you're doing really good." I was just doing freaking darts moves in Legend Dragoon.
Nice.
It worked. He's like, you got. I'm like, yeah, weird. But okay. I don't know if I'll ever play that game on the show. I know people would probably want me to, but I don't know if I want to. One of those games I don't know if I want to go back to ever.
Yeah, I bought it on PS4 when they re-released it a couple of months back, but I just haven't got around to it.
It's a game, from what I remember. I'm okay with the Judgment Ring, but I don't know, because, it's not like I really had to learn different combos or learn things. I mean, the timing just... The only time the Judgment Ring was an issue was trying to get Yuri's ultimate weapon, but I'm fine with that. For the most part, it never really gave me that many issues. It didn't ever, make me lose a battle too often. Maybe once or twice where I fucked up at a key point, but for the most part, I was fine.
Oh, was the ultimate weapon doing the 10 loops of the ring?
Yep, where it gets faster and faster and faster. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All I can think of when I was doing that is at least I'm not jumping rope in Final Fantasy IX.
Or dodging lightning bolts 200 times in a row. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Dominic, did you try it?
Oh, no. Not at all.
I tried it.
I was able to get the bargain system for the shops consistently, but the lottery stuff was difficult. The anything else seemed more especially when you had to open a door or something. Yeah. That just got way harder, I feel like.
I did all right in most of the things. I just couldn't handle that damn 10 was just too much.
I did it eventually, but it did take some time, and it is one where you jump out of your seat and go, yes!
I can see that. I mean, I just could not get the timing down. I would do it, get faster and faster, and I think I would have it, and then I would just go too fast. I don't know. I was like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was that point in the game when my brother came over and started seeing me doing this thing. What are you trying to do there? So I explained it to him. We both had a go. We kept passing the controller back and forth. And once we actually got there, he actually said, I'm going out and buy this game. It's great.
That's cool.
Yeah. Sacknoff appreciated it.
That's cool. Worth mentioning, too, that Sacknoff, or Nautilus as they became, they were part of that generation of companies that split off from Square.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That you had Monolith Soft, you had Sacknoff, you had Mistwalker, all those companies that went on to make Xenosaga or Lost Odyssey or Shadow Hearts.
Yeah, there's the game
really cool.
Down to Lost Odyssey.
Lost Odyssey is an amazing game, by the way.
I need to play that.
I've played up until the start of the second disc, and I got a new character in the party, and I thought, oh, great. I went into the menu, it said, level 1. I'm like, yeah, I'm turning this off for a while.
That's the game. But that is
one of those I need to play.
That's Final. That should have been. Well, it wasn't made by the same company, but that's Final Fantasy 13, in my opinion. That's caliber of that game. Is what you would have considered. What would have been a Final Fantasy had Square made it.
And I think it's worth mentioning that the people that worked on Shadow Hearts as well, particularly Yasunori Mitsuda doing the music.
Yes.
I know we say about playing games on mute, but that ending boss theme for the final boss with the church bells and all the orchestration is so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, Mitsuda's my favorite composer. I was automatically interested in this game when I saw that he was listed. So I'm very happy that he was getting more work. I mean, that's why I did Graffiti Kingdom for this show. I was like, oh, he did the soundtrack. Oh, shit.
He also, I did not know this, but he had one of the best ever he worked in Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
Sound effects.
The score, yes. Mitsuda,
I did not know that.
I think we talked about it during that episode.
We might have, but I did not realize that he was involved with part of this. So
yes,
I didn't realize the guy who worked in Chrono Trigger also worked on this game. Like that surprised me a lot when I found that out. It's like, oh, he made Robo Talking. He made this sound effect. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, the same with Indivisible on the PS4. On the back of the box, it's got one of those splash things, and it just says music by Yasunori Mitsuda, who made the music for Kudelka. And I'm like, I'm buying this.
We should play Sugunai Atonement, another PS2 RPG from this era that he did the soundtrack for, exclusively.
Did he do that?
Yes.
I literally just bought a copy of that a couple of months back, because that's a game that never came out over here in PAL regions, and
yes.
I absolutely love RPGs from NTSC that we didn't get, so when I saw a copy, I was like, oh, definitely got to have that. I haven't got around to playing it yet, but again, if Mitsuda's involved, I'm there.
What's it called?
Suguna Atonement, TSUGUNAI.
I have never heard of this either.
This is a game that I was at my local GameStop. You know, like this is like 2012 when there was like a handful of PS2 games left and that nobody was buying. And I'm like, well, I guess I got to be the one.
Dare I ask how much you bought it for?
$20.
Yeah,
it was new.
That just hurt me deeply because I paid a lot of money for my copy.
It was. I bought that. They had a Pump It Up Exceed bundle that was sitting there for a long time. I also bought that same time.
Oh, because we didn't appreciate RPGs at that time. I want to say too. I feel like in the PS2 era, like Shadow Hearts probably ended up having the same effect. It just wasn't appreciated enough for what it is because it wasn't your big bombastic game. And I'm assuming this Tsugune Atonement wasn't the same either.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a from what little I played. I never really played that much into it. I'd like to, but it was more of the kind of the not cheaper, but not Final Fantasy X level of investment. It's a Sony published game in Japan, but definitely more of that mid-range RPG with like a really nice Celtic aesthetic. And
oh yeah, I'm looking it up right now. It looks a lot like Shadow Hearts, by the way, like the same type of graphics.
Yeah.
So just kind of like it's not. Yeah, I can see this not selling great in 2001. You know, because if you have freaking Final Fantasy X, you're gonna want Final Fantasy X. You're not gonna want this.
I mean, it's Atlas published in North America, so it's like, you know, it's in line with Evergrace and Eternal Ring.
I beat Eternal Ring, thank you very much, back in early 2000.
I actually wanted to beat that game. I have quite a fondness for that game for some reason.
I remember my friends making fun of me so much. I actually beat that stupid.
I mean, that's a From game.
Don't know why.
That's a Kingfield lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, did not know that. I just remember I had it because it was $5 for PS2, and I was like, well, I have $5, and I have a new PS2 game to play and beat. So, but some of the other areas that I want to talk about in this game, like, wait, is it Europe? Oh yeah, this is okay. So anything for the China stuff, you go to Shanghai, you fight the guy. Yuri disappears then for 6 months because he sacrifices himself pretty much to stop the demon from coming, or he tries to fuse with the demon, I think, right? Something.
Yes.
Okay. And then the game picks up 6 months later. You play as Alice and Susan are being exorcists, and then now you're in Europe for the first time, and then you stay in Europe the rest of this game.
That's right, yeah.
And I guess the Japanese army isn't chasing you anymore. That's all over with.
They kind of are, but kind of not.
Well, the general gets the one that not general, but the current who you were working against then joins you. She gets murdered at this point, or at some point you find out she's murdered.
It's at the very end of the game where when you go back around to
you get the letter,
the items, and then you can just find out, and it's like, holy shit! Like they go into the whole cutscene of her assassination. It's wild.
Yeah, and that's not even part of the main storyline, is it? It's just one of those things you have to seek out if you want to find it, which, when you think about it, that is one of the main story beats for Covenant.
Oh.
Is it?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Ooh,
so if you missed that playthrough of Shadow Hearts 1, there's some serious stuff going down around that.
Covenant is... When I played Covenant, I was, like, blown away how good of an RPG that game was. So
that is possibly my favorite turn-based RPG of all time.
So it will happen on the show. Okay, I can already tell you that. Right, I just don't know when because next year is already pretty much dedicated to Kingdom Hearts and finishing that fucking series and a few other things. So we'll see, but it'll probably be a couple years. It'll happen.
Oh, definitely.
You act like it's a burden, Mike. You know you want it.
Oh, that's the problem. I do want it. I can't stop fucking Kingdom Hearts. Just you've been you've been talking about in the chat in one of the other chats that we have, and I'm just like, man, I need to play Birth by Sleep. That's not till December's list. I got to play this.
I needed to get it out of my system, so I already finished Birth by Sleep.
I have too many good things I have to do first, but no, I mean that's just it's not a.
Although, if you want my opinion briefly, I think I like Shadow Hearts more than Birth by Sleep.
Okay, could be high standards. I have no idea. I'm playing Birth by Sleep, but. Shadow Hearts is just such a good story, and it keeps invested. Like when you finally get to the part with Alice, it's best when you meet Keith Valentine and you get the vampire, and then you find Yuri just in a cell, just losing his mind after fusing with this demon. And the fact that in the story, pretty much Alice goes into the dark side of his brain and pretty much says, "I will sacrifice myself to save this man."
Again, one of the most important plot points right there.
Yes.
Because they're in love or something.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that I mean, again, trauma will bond people.
Even though he was a lecherous creep to her in the beginning.
But she was unconscious when he was a lecherous creep, so that makes it right. Fucking A. I don't like that. I'm glad they go away from it very quickly, but it's very 2001, and it's probably
they go away from that, but they have the acupuncture guy all the way through.
Oh yeah, that's like feeling Yeah,
it sticks around a little bit, but not as bad as the first 4 hours of the game.
No, but I forgot about the acupuncture, but yeah, you can kind of tell where he's like, finally the men, and they don't like it, and it's just like, why is this here? But again, it's 2001. This is a Japanese game, so I mean, maybe that's part of it. Like they were going for a humor thing that is lost on me now. I mean, maybe in 2001 I would have found it funny because I was a dumbass in 2001.
It's the idea of just silly comedy that sneaks in and takes the bite out of all the real dark gothic atmosphere that I really appreciate, whether it's, like the guy you were just talking about, or whether it's the Man Festival in Covenant, something that's just so
you
silly.
do need that balance. You absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would have maybe seen more adventures of Zhuzhan and Alice as the Exorcist, because that seems like a really fun plot point that got glossed over.
That was. See what they were doing for those 6 months in between.
Yeah.
You just see
that'd be perfect for a GBA RPG at the same time of Shadow Hearts, The Lost Chapter, or something like that.
You've been playing too much Kingdom Hearts.
Just Alice and Zhuzhan going ghost busting. That'd be awesome.
You're asking for Kingdom Hearts RPGs there, where you have spin-offs and spin-offs and other systems that actually connect to the main story, and they're all part of the same game.
I've still only played
in a landscape where there are different platforms with different budget expectations. It makes sense.
Yes, but Sacknoth is not Square.
Even though they were one of the premier Neo Geo Pocket Color developers.
Sacknoth was?
Yes, they did a couple.
Wow, that's a system I have not touched much in my life.
Which also explains why SNK published Kudelka.
Oh, yep. Okay, that does make sense then. Put things together and made sense. Thank you. And then eventually this game ends up in London, because the whole second half you're kind of trying to find Alice's the murderer of her father, and you end up I think that's when you find out that the guy you thought was Roger Bacon is actually Albert Simon. You have this Olga woman who was like an assassin for him that you have to fight multiple times before you finally kill her. You go to London, you meet up with Haley. This is when you find out, at some point, you find out that Kodeka is his mother, and that, because you go to a mental asylum at one point. I think that's when you find Kodeka.
Yep.
I mean, and that's how you find out the games are connected, because it's
and
Kodeka.
that's the moment I lost my mind.
Well, it's like I can imagine too, being, if you're a fan of Kudelka, she is fucked up by that point in the game.
Oh yeah,
catatonic, in a straitjacket or whatever. She can't even really communicate with her own son, and it's a very intense scene. This game is surprisingly intense at points for its subject matter, which it has the immature rating and all that, so it makes sense. But it's rare to see an RPG go for it sometimes, like this game does.
You only really see it with Shin Megami games, I feel like, or Persona games, maybe. Mm-hmm. I haven't played enough of those to really speak to it.
Xenosaga definitely went for it.
Which one?
Xenosaga definitely had points where they went for it.
We're playing that, by the way, once you finish going through those three. But I have not played that. I can't speak to that, unfortunately.
That's a series that they censored a couple different ways in the North American releases, and I think they made it worse by doing it.
Okay.
Oh, they made it even worse over in the PAL regions because they just chose not to release games 1 or 3.
Oh.
Yes, they decided to push 2, the one that is shorter in the middle chapter.
Series.
Why would you can't have them? That's just weird as fuck.
Yep.
Because isn't that game a complete story through 1 through 3? It's not okay. I only know
2 is they recast everybody. They redid the art design to make it more palatable, and it's here it's in the PAL regions now. Oh, okay, great. It didn't sell well.
With a free DVD that recaps the story from game 1.
I think
it's 5 hours.
Mm.
I think I have that DVD. It's 5 hours long.
This is before the times of YouTube. Another dark thing you do in this game, you also go to an orphanage that's full of demons eating kids, I guess, or something. This is a dark-ass RPG.
Mm-hmm. Well, the children are being kidnapped.
Yeah. It's just... and then when you go there later, you end up there's kids that are living there because you killed the demons. Not a regular orphanage or something.
Yeah, such a good little section of the game as well. And you've actually just reminded me that the voice that Yuri's hearing in his head all the way through the first half was Kudelka.
I forgot about that. Yeah, because he hears a voice, and that's why he rescues Alice, because he was told to rescue her because the voice was irritating him. I forgot it was Kodeka. So when I first played this game back in 2003, I'm assuming 2002, I knew it was a sequel to Kodeka. I tried to look up Kodeka. I could not find it at a local GameStop, or at least not for a price that I wanted to pay as a guy with one job that worked 6 hours a week.
Sure.
So, but that game is not cheap, I don't think, now even. Like, oh yeah, no, it's not cheap at all. And it wasn't cheap then either. I mean, it probably wasn't expensive, but it was like $30, $40. Like, I wasn't going to spend that for a PS1 game at the time. So I still kick myself for holding Suikoden 2 in my hands for like $20, and I'm like, I don't want to buy this.
Oh, still got my copy here.
Worth mentioning too, like there are a couple of things like Yuri's called a harmonixer, and like that's a whole plot point of like the people that can do these transformations, and his father was able to do that stuff, and then like the whole thing with his father becoming Foxface and his historical relevance to the plot. His father was not in Kudelka, was he?
No. Yuri wasn't in it. His father wasn't in it. It was the three characters that were going into the monastery: Kudelka, Edward, and James. And Roger Bacon was there for reasons.
But like the way they go into the father's like past, it really seems like it's meant to be part of something else.
Yeah, I think from reading an interview online that if they had the chance to make an actual Shadow Hearts 3 and not side story that From the New World was, it was going to be about Ben Hyuga and his adventures before he became Foxface.
So wait, you're telling me that From the New World wasn't their original plan?
No.
Oh, fuck. See, I would have been more invested had it been another one continuing something to do with this story after coming.
Yeah, I can see that. But I love From the New World all the same. But yeah, the idea was they were going to make Shadow Hearts 3 and it followed the adventures of Yuri's father.
I'm upset now.
Same.
From a game I played fucking like 18 years ago. Okay.
What is the video game landscape if not littered with games and stories that should be finished but are not?
Yeah.
Would have, should have, and could have.
That's very fair. And this game did what I love all RPGs that do, is when you get near the end of the game and you end up getting to a point where you find out Roger Bacon's not Roger Bacon, Albert Simon. He summons up this monastery out of the fucking ground. It looks like his umbilical cord connected to Earth to summon an alien, which I like how the god is actually an alien. They're like, it's an alien that came to Earth once and people saw it as a god. They're like, if an ant saw you as a human, wouldn't you be a god or something like that? I think there was a comment. I love that. I'm like,
that's very War of the Worlds. I'm not entirely certain whether it is the same monastery from Kudelka that he raises out of the ground, because I know you get to go into the ruins of the Nimartan Monastery, I can't pronounce it, sorry, as one of the dungeons in Shadow Hearts, and just before you do, there's a gravestone there of Father James, one of the player characters from Kudelka. That's the moment where you meet actual Roger Bacon. And it goes into the "Do you want to name this strange character?" screen, and whatever name you put in, he interrupts and says, "No, you can't rename me. I'm Roger Bacon."
Yes, that was great. I love that.
Which is great because you can rename any of your characters, but then still in the end credits it says, "Alice did this. Zhushen did this."
I don't rename anybody in any RPG.
I don't.
I
don't like doing it.
Sorry.
I like having it being what the artist intended it to be.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I didn't realize that's the same monastery as Kodeka.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fucking cool. All right, you just raised this game up even another stack. Wow. Okay.
The way in which these games connect is something that, like I said, I could talk for hours about.
Again, Shadow Hearts is a direct sequel. It's just called Shadow Hearts.
Yeah, but it makes sense. I mean, I think in this day and age, it wouldn't have been an issue. Like, people would have been like, oh, yeah, just go play. But, back in then, it wouldn't have been something you would easily know. Someone must have told me that it was a sequel. Probably the guy at EB Games probably told me. Same guy tried to tell me
Kudelka Shadow Hearts.
Bulkar profile at one time.
Yeah, if they'd have put a colon in there, that would have annoyed me.
But maybe it was a thing of like SNK or Infogrames own the Kudelka license, and they don't want to do that. And who knows?
It does happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it was just more of like Kodeka probably didn't sell well, and so they're like, and it's not a name that would grab the attention of the American audience.
Yeah,
where Shadow Hearts is more likely to grab the attention.
Yeah, I can see that. You casual buyer looking down the shelf and going, "Oh, I like RPGs with hearts at the end. Let's try this one."
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts already would have been out this time, but yes,
that would have worked for Covenant, not this game.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts is already out Kingdom Hearts later 2001, isn't it?
2002.
Oh, wow. Okay, never mind then. My timing is way off. That's when I first got a PS2, by the way, was Kingdom Hearts. Because I was so excited to play a game with Squaresoft characters in it again.
Cool.
And then that series forgets what Square is, yeah. And I also really enjoyed the side quests in this game that it has. Like any good RPG, the world's going to end, and let's go do side quests. You have the dollhouse. We have to go.
I love the dollhouse.
That's fucking creepy.
The dollhouse?
Yes.
What is this?
That's where you get Alice's best weapon, the fucking Flesh Bible. You didn't do this?
Can you explain more?
Sure. You have to go back to one of the town where you first get Alice again in London. You talk to a guy and he says that his house is haunted or something, and something about his daughter. You go to this house and you end up having like a doll. You get to a room full like blood written on the walls, and like this doll is watching you. And you talk to the doll a couple times, and it will attack you and fight a big monster.
And this is in London.
It's near London.
I don't know if I did this or not. That sounds kind of familiar. But
and then when you go back to the bar, and the guy's gone, and you just find a note where he was standing and said thank you, and it turned out he was dead too.
Oh, okay. I didn't do that then. I did a number of other things.
Because every character has an ultimate weapon. That's how you get her ultimate weapon. Yuri's is through the stupid running 10 times, which I couldn't do.
I did the one where you go to the special cavern, and you have to do the map.
Okay, there's two of those.
Okay, I did the one that you talk on the phone with the guy, like Earthbound.
Remember what I did? I know I did everything. I mean, there's one where you do to get Zuzin's best weapon. There's one you do to get Haley's best weapon. I just
really like that they had an Earthbound reference of just like, yeah, call on the phone, the only phone that exists in the game.
Oh, Kyle, what did you think of the side quests in the end of this game?
Yeah, I liked them. It was kind of nice that you got a little bit extra, but they didn't really stretch the game out too long. I think close to the end, after about 30 hours or so, I think it was getting a little stale on the combat for me personally. So it was nice to kind of just have that quick, get a couple of weapons to wrap it all up. So, I enjoyed the side quests, but I wouldn't say they were like a heavy or main point for me.
Okay. There's also, did you guys do the one for Keith where you have to go fight the Golden Bat in 6 turns?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
You go back to his castle, you go to the coffin, and there's a Golden Bat, which is actually his brother, which is in Covenant, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And you don't see him in human form, you see a Golden Bat. And then you have to fight. You have 6 turns. You have to deal 700 points of damage. I had to level his ass up big time in order to get this to work.
It's not an easy battle, that one.
No.
Yo. That's also why he was in the final team, because I went through all this work. I'm like, you're staying in the team.
That's fair.
And I never got Marguerite's best weapon because the guides didn't know what to do to activate. You have to have a couple arguing in a bar, and then you talk to them, and then you can get it. And he didn't know what to do to activate that, and I didn't care enough to figure it out.
I'm struggling to remember what I did to get Margaret's best weapon.
I know where you get it. You get it in the same town where Alice's father was murdered, in that church that's always locked. They go through the back door. But you have to do something to get them to have a couple up here that are arguing, then you go in the church.
Is that in Rouen in France?
Yes.
Yeah, because, again, linked to the next game, that's where it begins. Still struggling. I can't remember doing anything like that, but I'm sure I must have, because I did get all of the best weapons for all the characters.
Okay, I didn't look it up, but I didn't use Marguerite. Because characters don't level up when you don't use them, like an old RPG, which I really, really fucking hate, by the way. So, I don't use, if you were low level, I just didn't bother you at a certain point.
So, a couple of things I'm reading about here, real quickly. It seems like Kudelka was a game that had English voice work in whatever version of the game you were playing. This one did not.
Oh.
And in localization, Yuri's original name was Ermnoth.
Yes, that does ring a bell. Yeah, I can't think why that rings a bell, but it definitely does. I don't know if it's mentioned anywhere in the translated version, but that does ring a bell.
Okay.
But, Yuri was a little bit more Russian sounding. So.
Yeah. It still works. But no, Kudelka has English voiceover because it takes place in Wales, so they thought it made sense to have everything in English.
Yeah.
Where this game...
to put it in Welsh, but hey, giant language.
Yeah. Don't they speak English too, though, in that area?
I'd say about 90% of the Welsh do speak English, but there's a lot of, Welsh pride, and I appreciate that. I love the Welsh language. I think it's fascinating.
I know a little bit of it because I was watching The Crown. Does that count? When they had to teach King Hooper. Well, they got, I think he's king now finally, but yeah, when he was in, because he was something with Wales.
He was.
I'm American, so I don't know as much.
I'm English. I don't pay attention.
Because isn't Wales part of England, but not part of England?
No. Never, ever say that. He's part of the UK, but not part of England. Two separate countries. You would have the wrath of the Welsh attacking you right now.
I should know. I mean, yeah, because United Kingdom was a couple different areas, right?
Yeah, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland.
Okay.
But the only ones that matter to Shadow Hearts are England and Wales. We haven't yet had anything in Scotland in the Shadow Hearts series, as far as I recall.
Does it mean they go to Ireland and Covenant?
I don't recall, if I'm honest. I'm pretty sure you go to Wales at the very start to, again, go to see Roger Bacon at the ruins of the Nimetan Monastery, but I don't recall anything else.
We'll find out. Maybe not next year, but we'll find out.
I'm going to play it again anyway. It's one of my favorites.
No, feel free. It will be on the show at some point. I just can't. I just don't know when, because I already got most of next year already written. So, and there's not room for another giant RPG. I got Xenogears, I got
Breath of the Wild,
300, which has to be a big game. So yeah,
Birth by Sleep, Recoded, Dream Drop Distance, Rechain of Memories.
Yeah, fucking card games. But I'm a sucker for card games. I've found out more and more every day as Marvel Snap takes my money when I buy bundles. So hey, I'm a sucker for card games. What can I say? Fucking Marvel Snap. Great game, by the way. And eventually the story kind of concludes where you go to the monastery, and I thought that was a good dungeon. It really reminded me of the Black Omen from Chrono Trigger. Yeah. Because there's so many bosses. You fight a lot of bosses in this place.
Yeah, it's a boss rush, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that because what I would do is I would fight a couple bosses, I would save, I'd go leave, I'd go level up more, I'd go buy more items that I wouldn't need.
Yeah.
And so I had no problem with it. I kind of enjoyed it. Oh, I have a question for Kyle, since it's your first time playing this game. Did you get the Amon-Ra summon, or did you miss it like me?
No, I did get it.
Okay.
So, I followed a guide. I'm not even going to lie, honestly, because I like to beat games like that. But yeah, I got everything in the game.
Okay. See, I used the guide too, but my dumbass didn't read the part where it said, go grab the Destruction Stone before you go in that door. And it said, oh, use the Destruction Stone. I'm like, wait, I didn't grab that. Uh-oh.
I did have to switch guides halfway through because the first one I followed was terrible, honestly.
I had a good one. I was just kind of just playing along and I missed that one item. And then after that, I was like, well, now I can't get the ultimate summon to do all these last things. So I'm like, well, fuck that.
Yeah, you kind of lock yourself out of the any summons. You lock yourself out of the good ending. So
yeah, I tried to get the good ending, but it didn't bother me. I mean, isn't the bad ending the actual canon ending to this game anyway?
Now, my specialist subject, yes.
We're almost there. So you get to the end. You go up to the monastery. You fight the boss rush, and you finally get to Albert Simon, the final guy you've been hunting down this entire game. And then he turns into a demon monster, I think. And you fight him, and then as you kill him, the alien god finally shows up. Mm-hmm. Which any good RPG, and you fight a giant fucking alien god. Which, by the way, one of the attacks that enemy has is the Ark of the Covenant. So I appreciate that.
Can we talk about how weird and how chill Albert Simon is as a character?
Sure, please.
Well, there's that one part where you just approach him and then he's like, yeah, we're not gonna fight right now. We're just gonna talk about stuff, and then I'm gonna go away, and then it's gonna be back on after this. Or the part where he's flying in the air and he's like, oh, I'm going to go back to London and have tea or whatever. It's like what personality is this?
English. We do something. We have a cup of tea.
Yeah, but there's it's interestingly conceived in that he has this derangement of I'm this evil guy that's gonna summon a demon, blah blah blah. But we're not gonna fight right now. I don't really feel like it. Let's just have a talk real quick.
Yeah, he is so chill.
I mean, he's kind of an immortal being or something, because he's not. He's definitely not human, Albert Simon. Or at least if he is, he's an enhanced human. He doesn't.
I think as some kind of immortal being, he's got all the time in the world. So yeah, we'll fight later.
I mean, you would, though. That's the whole thing. If you look at Highlander or anything in that any science fiction has things that if you live forever, you wouldn't care. Time would have no meaning because, well, hey, to a real life scenario, when you have someone that's retired or something, time really has no meaning after a while because you just have time. It's so weird when you don't have to work every day.
Then why fight Yuri on the train?
Because he wanted the girl. Yuri was in his way.
Was he though?
In the end of the game, he's not in your way because he's won. In his eyes, he's won. He's completed what he wanted to do. I think that's how he sees it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
He's pretty much summoned the god.
Like the first punch on the train, so
the god's coming. Like the god is on his way here. You already lost. All I'm doing is procrastinating.
Yeah,
that's how I take it. Because you do fight the god after you beat him. You fight the god.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's him that does the Ark of the Covenant move. The god doesn't. But it's a very cool moment to have like this fucking like you get transported somewhere else and you fight a freaking alien god. It's just such a cool moment.
It's how all games should finish.
I mean, a lot of RPGs do end up with you fighting God. So
true.
Xenogears, you fight a god, pretty much. That's not a god. Like, I mean, it's not uncommon in games. It's also, I mean, this one it worked for me that the final boss, even though it's not the guy you've been hunting, it's something that he summons. I'm okay with it. It's better than all of a sudden, you're chasing after some guy named Kuja the whole game, and all of a sudden you end up fighting this random boss and you go, what the heck? Who are you? This was a much better version of it. I always will insult FF9 for that one, because Necron comes out of nowhere.
I never got to the end of 9.
So. Nowhere.
So
I haven't played 9 in a long time. 9's a great game, by the way.
I love 8. I like 7 quite a bit. Never played 9.
9's good. 8's really good, too, actually. Play the remaster of 8, then you can enjoy it without any of the side effects of playing the game. So.
Oh, I mean, I play 8 as level 1 character.
No, I do not.
I don't fight.
That's the right... The sad thing is, that is the right way to play FF8, by the way.
I
wish that wasn't true.
Magic to draw, and then that's it.
I played FF8 for the show for episode 224 because I messed up with numbers. It was supposed to be 225, but go play that. I mean, I played the remastered, and that game let me put a god mode in with the 2 thumbsticks, and it was just fucking great. And ×3. So yeah, that's the way to play FF8, by the way, and just enjoy the story.
Mm-hmm.
So also with this game, which we haven't, couple things I want to finish up on is one, you can upgrade your weapons. We talked about the acupuncture guy, which has the stupid scenes, but you can upgrade your weapons and make the ring smaller and your attack power bigger, and then increase the ring size too. Also, the enemies in this game are very like Lovecraftian. I know one of us mentioned earlier, and they're. I mean, hell, one of them is a fucking dick hanging out. Like I love it. It's great. It's just hilarious, and it just works.
Oh, clip that as a trailer for this episode.
I could.
But you guys that are just upside down in the air.
I like when RPGs do shit like that. I really do. I appreciate, like, hell, Persona 4. I remember when I was playing that for the first time, you get to a fucking BDSM enemy, essentially, where it has, like, the woman is, like, all like has a whip and is, like, sitting on top of men and has, like, latex. I'm like, okay, you got me, game. Like, I love when RPGs do that.
Yeah, it was the spider with the legs made out of fingers in Shadow Hearts that always creeped me out. Years before Elden Ring did the same thing and creeped me out again.
I just really appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, because this is, in my opinion, this is close. Because I always try to do big episodes for the 200, for the 50, 25, 50, 75 mark. I always try to do RPGs, and to me, this felt like a good, like, horror type game.
Yeah,
because of the enemies, because of the bosses, and the theme.
I want to give praise to the dungeon design as well.
Sure.
Dungeons are greatly paced. There's not a ton of puzzling, but there are puzzle-ish moments. It's not complicated, but it's there.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and you have a few rooms, and you're on your way. They're not very long dungeons either.
No. And the game kind of makes you, like, for a while, you can't really grind either. Like I was kind of mentioning earlier, like, it's hard to because you're only in dungeons for a little while, then you're off on your own again.
Right.
You have to choose if you want to grind. You better grind now. So, which I liked and didn't like at the same time. But you can also cheese the final boss, which I know the guide told me to do, but I didn't. Where you can you get different items in the game where you can, if you know the Judgment Ring really well, you can do things that lengthen the amount of space. So you can put some of the items on and just make Yuri attack nonstop.
Oh.
And just massacre the boss. I did not do that, but
I didn't do that on my first playthrough, but I did on my most recent playthrough. It's fun to just wail on him.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing.
You did the right way. That's how the game recommends you to do it too, though. Like, at least not the game, maybe not the game, but the guy. I mean, the tools are all there.
Yeah, as I've gotten older in my life, I finally realized I shouldn't save all my potions on the last boss because I'm not going back. So yeah, I used literally every 3rd, 5th, and 7th key I had on the last 3 bosses.
Right there with you.
I didn't use any of them, but that was because I didn't want to. Not that I couldn't. I did use a lot of items. I bought a ton of fucking items for the final boss, and I used some, but not all. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way too. I like to hoard stuff and not use it.
Oh, I'm exactly the same way. Give me everything I can get.
Oh,
Give me 15 of every item.
Small spoiler, but I completely forgot this, but I was clicking things, so I'm going to mention it. Dominic, you know who Anastasia is in history, right?
Yes.
Okay. That plays a part in Shadow Hearts 2. I'm just going to leave it there.
Anastasia is my favorite Disney princess movie.
You're going to love Shadow Hearts Covenant.
Yes. I'm just going to leave it there. She's involved in that game. Let's just say that.
Yes.
I'm very greatly interested.
Yeah. In much the same way that Al Capone and Elliot Ness are involved in From the New World, Anastasia's involved in Covenant.
What an upgrade from Roger Bacon to...
You have... Man, I really want to play Shadow Heart Covenant now, damn it.
I bought my copy.
I got so much stuff in the list. Oh, man, if I just played stuff randomly at this point, like especially an RPG, oh man, I wouldn't get done.
You have no time.
No, but I actually love it, to be honest. The only time I cursed myself was for the next game that I'll be talking about next week. I cursed myself a few times, not because I was playing that damn game and I didn't want to, but
Code Veronica.
Yeah, I mean, I did and I didn't. It was over a 20-year goal for young Mike to finish that game, and now I can finally say that 35-year-old Mike beat that fucking game and will never ever play it again in my life.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Well played.
Yeah. But you can hear about. I'll mention that later. Any last thing you guys want to say about Shadowheart before we go on to questions, comments, or memories?
Play it twice.
It's a good game, honestly. I think we really hit on it a couple of times. The Lovecraftian story is a lot different than what you're going to get at the time, and I think it works really well, honestly.
Yeah. So I posted this in 5 groups because I didn't expect to get a lot of comments. I did, so I will read what I can. But first, from I watched the entire Old Blood Super replay. I got one comment from Quentin Crow. I was still new to the JRPG genre when this first released, so I had a hard time getting through it. But damn, am I glad for sticking it through because the sequel is one of my most favorite games ever.
Yes.
And from
for the Covenant.
From the official Laser Time community, from John Silverman, he said, "I love this game." And from Jordan Kelly, "I absolutely love the entire trilogy. Covenant is a masterpiece and my top 5 favorite RPG of all time. I'm so excited for Penny Blood. Make sure to kickstart it." What is Penny Blood?
That's the new game by the makers of Shadow Hearts, the minds behind it. They have kickstarted this game, Penny Blood. They did a double Kickstarter together with another game that I can't remember the name of, but it was the work of the people that made Wild Arms, and they're making a spiritual successor to that. So, nice. Double Kickstarter,
Armed Fantasia.
Spiritual successors to that's the one. The spiritual successors to Shadow Hearts and Wild Arms. What's not to love?
Oh, I've never played Wild Arms early.
Neither have I.
I
mean, Wild Arms 4 was the first game XSEED localized in North America. This From the New World was the second one.
Mm.
Yeah, 3's really fun, honestly,
game.
for
Wild
Arms.
Definitely. The only Wild Arms game that I've actually finished is Wild Arms 4. I've played them all, loved them, especially number 2, which we didn't get here in the PAL regions. But the only one I actually got to the end of was Wild Arms 4, and I don't know what it was about that game. It just kept me hooked right to the very end. And when that final cutscene played, I seem to remember just standing up and applauding. It was
nice.
that good.
Yeah, for me, Wild Arms is always the music really kept me going.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of though, what do you guys think about the music in this one, Shadow Hearts?
Again, Yasunori Mitsuda can do no wrong, so
yes.
Fantastic music all the way through. Like I said earlier, especially that final boss theme. That is a masterpiece.
You know what it is, but I went back and listened to a couple of them on the way, because on the show I do, we pick music and all that kind of stuff. But the battle theme, I could not get into it in any way, shape, or form. Was that just the time frame when everyone in the world was into Gregorian chanting, and that's what we ended up doing?
Yeah, I mean, Mitsuda's weakness is probably his battle themes.
It's the ooh that's going on in the background the whole time, and there was obviously that era, like you say, where there was a lot of ooh, a lot of chanting, and then of course Persona 3 broke the mold by having baby, 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 baby.
True.
Just taking it in a whole different direction. But no, I do like the music in this. I would love to get a soundtrack CD of Shadow Hearts. I don't know if there is one, probably is, but I'd love to have that in my collection.
There actually is a CD for Sugunai Atonement.
Really?
Yes. It's a dedicated, it's like a standalone CD release, apparently.
Oh, I need to find this. That's incredible. The more I'm finding out about this game, the more I want to actually sit and play it now.
All right. And I have a few more from the RPG Lovers Worldwide Unite group. First one from Jonas Kretzer. PSA, complete Codeca before starting Shadow Hearts. Too late for that.
Oops.
Shadow Hearts is a direct sequel to Codeca, and if you skip Codeca, you'll miss out on the best parts in Shadow Hearts.
Will you miss out? Maybe.
No, you won't. Well, you won't know it, I guess.
No, you wouldn't know. Like I say, seeing the gravestone of James O'Flaherty just outside the Nemeton Monastery just won't mean anything to you if you haven't played Koudelka, but if you have, you'll stand there and shed a little tear.
And from William Reeg, the guy who made this game is making a new game, which we just talked about.
Yep.
Which is really cool. I'm always happy when people do that, when developers, especially now in today's market. It makes me happy they're able to. That's why I do think the market's going to change in the next few years. I don't think AAA can keep going.
No, I think you're right, and I think a lot of games there's going to be a shift at some point, because at the moment it feels like every other game I'm playing is Dark Souls. I mean, I'm playing Lies of P at the moment, and it's Bloodborne, and that's going to get stale eventually. Just like turn-based RPGs got stale in the mid 2000s, and nobody was buying them, nobody was playing them, nobody was making them. So maybe the next thing to happen is going to be turn-based RPGs again, because right now, I'm generalizing, of course, but every other game seems to be either Dark Souls or a strategy RPG.
There are a lot of those. Oh, speaking of strange strategy RPGs, and this fits, any of you guys heard of the game called Operation Darkness for 360?
I have heard of it.
Heard of it.
It's a turn-based strategy RPG that takes place during World War II.
I'm interested.
And you fight werewolves and stuff.
I'm very interested.
The only reason I know of it, Kyle, is because our mutual friend Brad was playing it at one time.
Oh, that's fair. I'll have to ask him about it.
He might not remember, because this was a long fucking time ago, but I own
it's an Atlas published game.
Yeah.
So, incidentally, on the subject of strategy RPGs, have you played Chaos Wars on the PS2?
Ah,
nice.
Never heard of that.
Chaos Wars is... I've got it on the shelf right here. It's a strategy RPG, and I think it's a crossover one with lots of different characters from lots of different franchises, but Yuri and Alice are playable in it.
Oh!
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, and so is... and in the cover, I see 3 people from Covenant. Not in the cover, but in the game itself.
Yeah.
Or somewhere. Okay.
It's not one I've played, but it is on the shelf waiting to be played. It's
in my collection, in a version of my digital collection of PS2 games. Yeah, it's in there. I'm pretty sure.
I just love recommending things to people. That's Legrand Legacy and Chaos Wars now.
I think that's one thing I like about doing on the show too. Is because for example, we're off top, but who cares? Somebody had recommended that I play the game Lake over 2 years ago, and I've been thinking about it. I own it. I'm going to one day. It's going to be on the show as a mini. I'm just going to make myself play it because I've been so excited to play it for over a year to 2. So. Yeah, I love when people recommend stuff. Like Legrand Legacy, you recommended. It's only 37 hours to beat us. I don't know how long, so that means probably 35.
Yeah.
That's doable.
How did you like Chaos Wars with the... did you play the English version?
I didn't play it.
I still haven't played it. I've got the NTSC American version in my collection on my shelf, but I still haven't got around to it yet.
The localization is very infamous.
I've heard about the voice acting. I hear it's terrible.
There's just so many good PS2 games that existed.
Oh, yeah.
That people just don't know about. Because as a guy who I consider myself at this point, kind of a pretty big video game knowledge person, I didn't know what this was. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have it in my digital collection, but I didn't know it existed. I just didn't really know anything of it. I just grabbed it because it was there, and I try to have a nice collection just in case.
Yeah.
The internet decides to make stuff disappear. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. That's always one of my fears, that someday that will happen. But I think it's
online.
It's not a real fear, because anything you put online does not go away from online, by the way. So this podcast will never stop existing, even if I do. So it will still be there somewhere. From Alistar Abernathy, I tried to get into this at the wrong time. A close friend back then lent me this game, all excited, telling me I would love it. But I have other RPGs I was playing at the time, like Star Ocean till End of Time and some others, and because of this, I've never ever played past 4 hours of Shadow Hearts. Maybe someday. You should if you listen to this episode. Well, we spoiled it, but still.
That can always be the worry, isn't it? That's the reason I never got into Star Ocean till the end of time, which, again, lots of people have told me I'd love.
If you can get through to the end of time, you can get through this game.
I've never played to the... I own to the end of time, actually.
I've only really played Second Story quite a bit. I never finished it, though.
They're remaking that.
Remake, yeah.
I know. That's very exciting. Still want to play the original one all the way through, though.
It is great. Suggest doing it.
I played that game all the way through, got to the final boss, and I couldn't beat him. And I never went back. One day I'm going back. But no, the remake looks really cool. I mean, is it really on a remake or more of a... Well, I guess, yeah, it's a remake. Yeah,
it's like a full redo, isn't it?
Yeah, with the, like, kind of... Yeah, it looks really... I might have...
Like Second Evolution was like the remaster-ish version, and now they're doing, like, the full-on...
Happy that series still exists, Star Ocean, like that it hasn't just fell away off the face of the earth.
Yeah,
they keep trying.
Fan.
I've never beaten any of them. I've been meaning to play one for so many years, but just hasn't happened yet.
That speaks to your integrity and faithlessness.
Well done.
Someday. Very good. Someday it will happen. I keep saying, hey, because of this podcast, I have played a lot of games that I would never have played in my life. Because RPGs are hard to get to.
Yeah.
So, but hey, the good news is I'm finding more people that like RPGs, so there's more often they're going to happen on this podcast. If I can find tributes and volunteers, I'm more likely to do something. So, all right, read a few more from Ruben Smith. I love Shadow Hearts Covenant way better. From Juja Masri. It was a very good RPG. I should replay it. Stumbled across the title because of Kodeka game. It was kind of related to it, though Kodeka was very different to Shadow Hearts.
Yeah, in terms of the battle system, yeah, it's more of a grid-based battle system rather than straight-up turn-based. But yeah, I can see that.
From Alexander Kirchner, one of the most bittersweet stories, favorite with a great second game where everything fits together, even if it has more or less open ending. So enjoyable, mostly interesting, and damn, why isn't it in PlayStation PS2 Classics yet?
Because nobody knows who owns the rights to it.
Is that what it is?
I think it's owned by one of these big groups that assimilated groups, and which in turn assimilated other groups. And I assume that they've tried to get the rights back and just can't.
Well, who owns Aruze? Aruze is owned by, it's now Universal Entertainment Corporation.
Universal, yeah.
Which is an own publisher in Japan.
They're probably making pachinko machines.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, and we should talk about...
They are a pachinko maker. You're absolutely right. But they were like one of the OG pachinko makers, apparently.
Oh, great.
It all circles back.
Hey, you can make a lot of money off gambling and taking people's money. So, hey.
Apparently so.
I mean, you can. As a guy who's been to casinos and hates it, you can make a lot of money off people. I can't gamble, by the way, in anything.
Oh, Aruze just won in the bankruptcy in February.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, someone else could buy the damn rights then. Or do the rights go out in the ether then? Well, no, it would be liquidated. After you go to bankruptcy, all your things would be liquidated eventually. So, yeah, the rights could show up somewhere for someone to buy.
Because this is the same company that owns Mr. Do.
The hell is Mr. Do?
The arcade game?
Never heard of it.
Oh, it's a pretty big arcade game, I thought.
It could be. I don't like arcade stuff a lot.
Fair.
Again.
Anyway.
Feels like. We should talk about the ending. I think I forgot to mention that because I ran out because I went on to this part. Ian, you're probably the best one to describe the ending.
Right. So, the ending of Shadow Hearts, or should I say both endings of Shadow Hearts, are considered canon because you're meant to play your first playthrough and get the bad ending. The follow-up, Covenant, starts right at the end of Shadow Hearts 1, following on from the bad ending. Am I safe to say what happens in the ending?
Yeah, no, feel free.
All right. In the bad ending, Alice sacrifices herself to save Yuri and dies. And so Yuri at the start of the second game is in a state of frenzy, is in a state of berserk. He's holed himself up in a church in Rouen, and that's where Karen finds him, another of the protagonists of Covenant. Then you're meant to play through Covenant, and your actions in that one, or your choice at the end, can lead to a time loop sending Yuri back to the train at the start of Shadow Hearts 1 with the opportunity to save Alice. And there is the good ending.
Wow. I have no
Interesting.
Get that strudel stirring around in the noodle. That is some real heavy stuff.
And the way they show that she dies is that they're sleeping on a train together, Yuri and Alice just doesn't wake up.
That's right, yeah. And then in the good ending, she does.
She didn't wake up mine. I'm going to read a few more in this group because I got too many, and I need to wrap this up. From Luke D. Shadow Hearts Covenant, the sequel is even better. If you want the full story, you need to play Codeka on PS1. Even Shadow Hearts 3 is good, but it does not have the great gothic vibe of the others. From Philip Lewis, one of my favorite game franchises. From Monique Seegers, I played these games again half a year ago. Shadow Hearts was one of my favorite RPGs back in the day.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how much love for this series there is, and it's all coming down to people sharing their love for it on social media now. Like I say, anytime anyone posts on anything Shadow Hearts related, there's always a few comments saying, "Oh, I love that series."
And I did not.
It's so good to see.
Like I posted in 3 RPG groups. Here's another one I got to read a few from RPG Sanctuary. From Derek Hopkins, I wish they would come to the PS collection.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so sad it hasn't, but again,
Let's make an HD collection.
I'd buy it
So
again.
good.
Josh Beaton, one of my favorite games of all time, along with the second one. From Patrick, funny saying from me. I said I saw the cover and that's why I bought it. I saw the cover, saw the price was decent, was okay. Let me give it a swing. Loved it. Still love it. So it's Spooktober, so I'm going to do a Codeka, Shadow Hearts Covenant, and New World playthrough. So
Nice.
awesome to see so many Shadow Hearts fans.
Yes.
From Brian Roberts, great game. Nathan McCann, lots of fun. The unusual setting was a big part of the charm. The sequel is even better. From Christopher Cronus, perverted, emotional, but one of the best RPGs in the PS2, which is seriously underrated.
What was that first bit there? Perverted but emotional.
Perverted. He's not wrong. It is perverted, at least to start with.
Yeah.
Okay. From Dwayne Davis, I played the entire trilogy in order of greatness. I say the second is clearly the best. The first one is second, with the third coming in last. Not many people like the third one, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, same.
Here's a good one. From Josh Weeks, the character models are absolutely nasty and awful. I think it's a fine game with major teenage perversion, but it's still fun to play.
Yeah.
Great. Here's a good one. From Ryan Evans, sadly never got to play the first one. I ordered off GameStop 10 years ago, and they sent me Shadow the Hedgehog instead.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. You ordered a great game, and you got a piece of shit.
Oh.
You ordered a horror game, you got horrific.
Hey, also on this podcast, by the way, if you want to hear what we thought about Shadow the Hedgehog, it wasn't good. Okay, from Justin Parrish, same here. Saw the cover and said, why not? Loved it ever since. All right, and I'm going to read the last group, the RPG Collective. I did not expect this many people to comment, by the way, when I first posted this. There's a lot more I'm not reading. I just can't read them all because I don't want to be here that long. From Justin Taylor, I remember taking a chance on the game based on the cover and absolutely loving it. Like you said, great time period for a game that most don't touch upon, and just cool, different fighting system and story to follow as well. From Joanna BP, I got this game by chance. Was a get two for this much kind of deal. The other game was Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. I barely played it because this one took all my time. I loved it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Wrath of Cortex is not a good game, if I remember right, but I never played it.
I don't know.
From William Riley. Oh, this brings back memories. I loved it. Man, that was a long time ago. From Nicholas Zaleski. I mean, it's not forgotten. One of the most well-known cult classics in RPG history. So my memory is that it was a well-known game that everyone played, I guess. Well, if you say cult classic, I think that usually kind of... I kind of want to talk about this. I consider Shadow Hearts more of an unknown game. I don't think... Before I posted in this group, I really didn't realize how many people love this series.
Yeah, there's a lot of love out there for it.
But also, to me, it's kind of a forgotten series in the terms of it doesn't exist anymore. There are no new games. You can't play the old games anymore. They never port to PC. It's stuck on the PS2.
That's the main problem. We're stuck 3 generations ago. There hasn't been a new entry in the series since, 2005? It is lost to history, really, unless somebody gets their finger out and makes that HD collection that really needs to happen.
I mean, if you think about it, 2005, we're in 2023 at the time of this recording. That's a lot of years between each other. That's 17, 18 years. That's 18 years. I mean, that's a long time.
And yet I'm still hopeful because in this day and age, there are companies out there like Night Dive, who are actually looking through old games and bringing them back, trying to work out that red tape of who owns the rights to whatever. They brought back the Blade Runner point and click that I thought was, forgotten since 1998. So anything's possible in my eyes. I just hope someone gets around to Shadow Hearts soon.
And last comment I'm going to read from Grace Bluestone, still my favorite creepy game. I'm going to read one more. From Brian Burnett. Codeka was the first RPG I ever played. Used to stay up late with my brother and played. Super excited for the spiritual successor to the theories that they are working on right now.
Yes.
All right. And I think I'm going to give away a code before we go on to our last segment. So if you're still listening, I'm going to give a code away for, let's see what random shit I have that I don't want. Or not I don't want, but I already own. So that's the correct way to say it. We'll give away Calico, which is actually like it's like a sim game with cats. I'm pretty sure that's Calico. This is a Steam code for Calico. The code is VLWJ8WK-DX2LY. And that is your code for Calico. All right. I buy Fanatical bundles and I get so many damn codes and I'm like, I got to give these away. So that's what happens.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I try to do it. I just do it in the regular episodes, and I have so many damn codes. I'm getting there. So, all right, now bring us to our last segment, Shelf Stack or Box. And Ian, what about you?
I think it's fairly obvious what my impression of this game is. My copy of Shadow Hearts is on my shelf right behind me right at this moment. So, with its NTSC counterpart, because I've got 2 copies of this game as well.
Very nice.
So, yeah, I definitely proudly display it on my shelf.
Okay. And what about you, Dominic?
I'm going to say shelf. But I feel like if I play Covenant and love it more, it's going to go in the stack. I don't know.
They can both be shelved. You can enjoy
both. It can be. We'll have to see where it goes. But I'm on shelf for now.
Okay. And we can't change it because the guy that's keeping track for me, Richard Sampson, would be upset if you change anything because then he had to go through this sheet. Use an Excel sheet somewhere to keep track of all this for me.
It'll be the bookend of the shelf. How about that?
And I'll go next. I'm going to put this on the shelf, too. I loved this game back in the early 2000s when I played it. I really had a great time playing this again, even without save states. I couldn't be a dirty cheat, and I still had a great time. So, that's saying something right there. So going on the shelf, and I'm really glad to finally have played it. All right. And what about you, Kyle?
You know what? I am also going to go shelf. First time player, I had a really good time with the game. I thought it was really well paced, enjoyed my time with it. And the more I talk about it, honestly, the more I do want to try the other games that I haven't. So yeah, I'd put this on the shelf.
All right. Okay. And if you want to, and next week, to the final main episode, Spooktober, you get to hear us talk about Resident Evil Code Veronica. The true number 3 of Resident Evil, even though I know people don't believe me in that, but fucking true. That game is a step up.
Mm-hmm. Can't believe you played 2 Resident Evil games this Spooktober.
Yeah, me either. Code Veronica wasn't my choice. Code Veronica was one of my good friend of the show who's on the show quite damn often. Blair Farrell really wanted me to do Code Veronica, so I'm like, okay, it was actually going to be Revelations too. But the Resident Evil also, but not Code Veronica, so it was his idea for me to play it, and I'm like, well, yeah, I should. So that's all that happened. But you'll hear all about that next week, unfortunately. Oh, hey, but at least I got to have a moment where when I beat a game, I just felt so accomplished. So, and that is a nice feeling. And Kyle, why don't you, since it's the first time on your show, what kind of podcast? I didn't even know you had a podcast, so we just started talking earlier. What kind of podcast is it?
Yeah, so I'm on the RPG show, not my original podcast. I joined about 1.5 years ago. They used to be a lot of old school JRPGs, getting into some newer ones now because we've gone over a lot of stuff. But Chained Echoes, I think we got to Sea of Stars coming up, Trails of Azure, Trails to Zero, a lot of stuff like that. So swing on by again. It's the RPGshow.com. Yeah, come on over. Episodes are a little long, not as short as this one, just in case, but it's a good time.
Oh, you guys, I see you weren't on the show yet in 2020. They did Cthulhu Saves Christmas.
Yes, yeah. I joined Triangle Strategy was my first episode, I believe.
Okay. That's Cthulhu Saves Christmas is actually a good game. People do not realize that. That is a decent game.
Really is.
I really enjoyed it. We played it on the show not too long ago. Definitely recommend that game.
Oh.
Again, they did a lot of episodes on that. Damn. They have a good website, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a website. I have Podbean. You can go find everything I've done on Podbean. It's all Podbean. I want a real website, but I don't want to pay to make a website when I just pay Podbean. I'm like, well, it gives me a website, so it works. And Dominic, where can people find you at?
I am on the Dissonant Waves podcast on YouTube. We do not have a we do have a website, dissonantwaves.space. I have no idea if it's been updated at all recently. We mostly just focus on the YouTube and our Twitter at Dissonant Waves, if you must know.
Hey, Twitter is still around for now. Yes. I think Twitter will make it out of 2023. I just don't think it'll make it out of 2024. Because I think once he starts charging people that, to get rid of the bots, yeah, that's when Twitter's done. So
yeah.
Yeah, not get rid of the bots. It's because you made a stupid business decision because you were being an idiot. So, and Ian, where can people find you at?
I write occasionally for thepixels.com. That's the-pixels.com. And if you like the sound of my voice, and why would you? I occasionally appear on podcasts like this one and A Gamer Looks at 40 and MageCast, but mostly I'm over on Twitter, X for now, usually spouting nonsense into the ether about gaming, collecting, and usually Shadow Hearts.
Good.
Actually, that's how I knew Phoebe, friend of the show, been on the show many times, had like, oh, she's like, you need that TB Fury. I'm like, okay. So
I am so grateful to Phoebe for putting my name forward for this. I really, really need to thank them.
So it's all thanks to her. She's awesome. Yeah. Who she will hear this months later after we record this because she's behind on the show. Because
you have a great pacing to your show releases.
Every couple days, you get an episode. And my whole theory or my whole like idea with this is that you will always get something. So because I'm going to go on a bit of a rant, but there's like a podcast I listen to all the time, Geekbox. They used to be weekly podcasts. They're now bi-weekly podcasts, which I don't like, but their choice. And at one point, whenever the new Better Call Saul show came out, they would like a whole episode talking about Better Call Saul. I didn't care about Better Call Saul, and I was upset because like I want to listen to these guys talk every week, and I wasn't really able to enjoy the episode because I don't care about Better Call Saul. So my theory was that I'll release 3 episodes a week on different topics, so there'll be something for you, hopefully, every week. I mean, yes, there's movies, there's comics, we do all sorts of different things, but that's always been kind of become my goal, is that you'll find something. So I don't know if that works, but people are listening to the show, and this show has been going on now for almost 5 years. So, yeah. You can find everything we do on Podbean. Our entire catalog is there. There's over 500 episodes of the show. We're getting actually close to 600. We've been going for 250 weeks. Give myself a pat on the back. For that, we haven't missed a week yet. I like to say that whenever I get to the 50 marks because I can. So,
yeah,
I'm very proud of that.
My show takes a couple months off to reset because I don't know. I don't know how you do it with all the editing and stuff, but I need a break after editing all my shows.
I eat and breathe games my mom's on. Okay, like ask my wife; she can tell you. So, and she calls it my mistress, the podcast. So, not that wrong.
That's fair.
But you can go find all that out. If you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. Little dog, vote in our Patreon polls. We have polls every month. Right now is a Halloween or horror movies Mike hasn't seen. Go check that out. You can go vote for movies, and then it comes on the show. We have a Discord. Please join our Discord. Chat with us. You'll see a link in the show notes. We always need more people to join that, so please do. And want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy to Helena at Hell Hatchery. You'll see her link tree in the show notes, all her links to her different stuff. Definitely go check her out. She's TikTok famous. Definitely go check her out. And then I also, please check out A Gamer Looks at 40 with Bill Tucker's been on the show many, many times. He does his own podcast where he just interviews people. It's a very wholesome show. Definitely go listen to him. Very good show. And also want to shout out Nomads Fantasy. They do mostly movies, some games, but also another podcast to add to your routine. Look, they're very good. I'm on the show off and on, so definitely go check them out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube. Audio only, but we are on YouTube. And subscribe, like us wherever you get us. It helps out the show a lot. Helps out the algorithms and makes me happy when I see Spotify have more reviews every so often. So go do that. And that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.